Christmas morning, 1969. A department store in Tokyo. Behind a glass counter sits a single watch in an 18-karat gold case. It costs 450,000 yen, more than a Toyota Corolla. By the end of the day, 100 of them are gone. The watch has no balance wheel, no hairspring, no escapement. Inside, a sliver of quartz crystal vibrates 8,192 times per second. It keeps time to within 5 seconds a month. The best Swiss mechanical watches of the day manage 5 seconds a day. The Seiko Astron has just arrived on Earth, and an industry that has dominated the world for 3 centuries has perhaps 48 hours before it realizes it is already finished. To understand what Seiko had just done, you need to stand in the Swiss Jura region in 1969 and feel how permanent it all seems. Switzerland holds half the global watch market, not half of the high-end, half of everything. 1,600 companies, 90,000 workers. The villages of the Jura Arc, La Chaux-de-Fonds, Le Locle, Biel exist for this one purpose. Fathers teaching sons the same skills their own fathers taught them. A master watchmaker can assemble a lever escapement in the dark. He has done it so many times his hands know the sequence before his eyes confirm it. These are not factories in the modern sense. They are workshops, family businesses, places where the same fixtures have been bolted to the same benches for 50 years. Omega is on the wrists of astronauts. Rolex is worn by heads of state. A Swiss watch is not a product. It is an object of civilization. In 1969, nobody in those workshops is worried. The confidence is not arrogance. It is evidence-based. They have been best at this for 300 years, and nothing in their experience suggests the next 300 will be different. That is the precise moment when experience becomes a liability. The Seiko Astron does not arrive from nowhere. It arrives from 10 years of deliberate, patient, obsessive engineering by one man who refused to accept that a mechanical oscillator was the best the human race could do. Tsuneya Nakamura joined Seiko in 1944 at the age of 21 in the wreckage of wartime Japan. He spends the 1950s building the Seiko Marvel, a mechanical watch so precisely regulated it outperforms Swiss competitors at international chronometry trials. But Nakamura is already looking past mechanical movements. In 1959, he launches the 59A project at the Suwa Seikosha division. Its ambition, to shrink a quartz clock, then a machine the size of a filing cabinet, into something a human can wear on their wrist. The obstacles are almost comical in their scale. The quartz clock Nakamura starts with is approximately 300,000 times the size of the object he needs to produce. The team hand solders hybrid circuits at 128 individual connection points on a movement small enough to fit inside a coat pocket. They work without the electronic supply chain that later engineers will take for granted. When the components they need do not exist, they build them. In 1964, the team produces a portable quartz chronometer used to time events at the Tokyo Olympics. It is not yet a wristwatch. It is proof that the principle works under real pressure, in public, where failure is not an option. By 1968, Seiko's president, Shoji Hattori, sees the development progress and makes a decision that ends the parallel tuning fork project he has been running alongside Nakamura's team. He walks into the lab and gives the engineers a simple instruction: commercial release in 1 year. Not a target, an order. Nakamura's team has 12 months to produce a product that has never existed before in human history. They do it. Now here is the detail that lands like a blow when you first encounter it. The Swiss already had this. In 1967, 2 years before the Astra, the Centre Electronique Horloger in Neuchâtel, a consortium of 20 Swiss manufacturers, presents its Beta 21 quartz caliber at the annual observatory competition. It breaks every accuracy record on the books. Seiko also enters a prototype at the same competition. 2 years later, it is Seiko that ships a commercial product. The Swiss do not. The Beta 21 eventually reaches the market in 1970, expensive, thick, and power-hungry. A proof of concept dressed as a luxury item, not a commercial threat dressed as the future. The reasons the Swiss don't move faster are structural, not stupid. Switzerland in 1970 has 1,600 watch companies, most of them working under a cooperative system called établissage. One workshop makes cases, another makes dials, a third makes escapements. The system is extraordinary for producing high-quality mechanical parts. It is near impossible to pivot quickly toward integrated circuits and electronic assembly. The structure that makes the Swiss watch so good is the same structure that makes the Swiss industry so slow. What Seiko does next is arguably more consequential than the Astron itself. Having established quartz as the superior technology, Seiko opens its key patents to the world. It is not generosity, it is strategy. By making the technology freely available, Seiko ensures the entire global industry moves toward quartz, and that Seiko, as the first and most experienced manufacturer, leads the transition. Citizen and Casio follow. Japanese production scales at a rate the établissage system cannot match. The question every watch buyer on Earth is suddenly asking is not which Swiss brand, it is why Swiss at all. The arithmetic hits the Jura towns the way a flood hits a valley. It doesn't announce itself, it seeps. Swiss exports of mechanical watches dropped from 40 million pieces in 1973 to just 3 million a decade later. SSIH, the group that owns Omega and Tissot, sees its sales fall from 12.4 million watches in 1974 to 1.9 million in 1982. Between 1970 and 1983, Switzerland loses 1,000 watch companies. Employment falls from 90,000 to 28,000. 60,000 people, in trades their families have held for generations, find themselves with nowhere to go. Workshops close. A watchmaker in Le Locle, who has spent 40 years working on lever escapements, does not have the training, the tooling, or the industrial context to make integrated circuits. The skill he has is not transferable. The world his skill belongs to no longer exists. He knows this. He knows it before the last workshop closes. Some things are understood from the inside long before they are visible from outside. By 1982, the two largest Swiss conglomerates, ASUEG and SSIH, are technically insolvent. Switzerland's global watch market share has fallen from 50% in the 1960s to around 10% by 1983. The industry that dressed the wrists of royalty and astronauts is being measured for its coffin. And sitting in the memory of every executive in every Biel and Geneva boardroom is the same uncomfortable fact. They had the technology. They had a working quartz prototype in 1967, 2 years before the Astron, and they looked at it and went back to making mechanical watches. In 1982, the Swiss banks call in a consultant named Nicholas Hayek. His brief is effectively to plan the ordered bankruptcy of what remains of a national industry. Hayek has a different idea. The Swiss cannot beat Japan on price, on volume, on electronics manufacturing scale. But the Swiss have something the Japanese cannot manufacture. The meaning attached to a Swiss watch, the prestige, the heritage, the story behind the object. The answer is not to compete with the Seiko Astron. It is to stop competing with it entirely, and to position the mechanical Swiss watch not as a timekeeping instrument, but as a cultural object, something you wear to say something about yourself that a quartz movement cannot say. His other solution is more immediate. Cash flow. The swatch, a plastic, quartz-powered fashion object, cheap to produce, bought impulsively the way you buy a t-shirt, in colors, with a personality, as something you replace rather than repair. The first swatches come off the line in 1982. They are the financial transfusion that keeps Omega and Longines and Breguet alive long enough to reinvent themselves as something the market has never quite seen before, mechanical watches sold not on the strength of their accuracy, but on the strength of their irrelevance to it. Tsuneya Nakamura retires from Seiko in 1994, after 50 years. He doesn't give many interviews. He does not appear to consider what he built a disruption. He considers it progress. The Swiss mechanical watch does not die. It does something stranger and, in some ways, more interesting. It stops being a timekeeper and becomes an argument that some things made slowly by hand from components that need no battery and will still run in 100 years deserve to exist even when a $5 quartz movement can outperform them at every measurable function. That argument is now worth more than $25 billion a year. Quartz won the war for accuracy. Mechanical watches won the war for meaning. What the quartz crisis actually kills is not the Swiss watch. It is the Swiss assumption. The assumption that being best at something is sufficient protection against someone finding a better way to do it. The Swiss were first with a quartz prototype. They were the best at mechanical watchmaking. They had everything except the one thing that mattered in December 1969. The willingness to make the decision that the future of their industry was the thing they had built in their own laboratory and chosen not to sell. Nakamura made that decision for them. He just made it from the other side of the world. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and click the next video on your screen for another interesting breakdown on watches.